Hello everyone, welcome again. Today I decided to make a quick review of this French premium tank FCM 50T. At the moment it's probably one of the most popular premium tanks because it's one of the most common tank dropping from the seasonal craze that we have in the game at the moment, and we're getting keys from wargaming tournaments from streams. So everyone's looking for information about the tank, and I would like to bring some details here maybe to help you up to use more effectively this vehicle on the battlefield if you manage to get it. So if you look on the vehicle, it's quite big for a medium tank. It's classified as a medium tank, but 50T in the name means that it's a 50-ton vehicle, which is quite heavy for a medium tank and is quite big. Another thing that you can see on the first impression, it looks pretty much similar to the German tanks, and this is true because you can see lots of German technology influenced here. As you can see, the frontal sloppy armor looks pretty much like a Panther or Tiger 2 armor here. The turret looks pretty much like a Tiger 2 turret. So yes, that's true. It is quite inspired by the German technology. If you look at the technical part, the gun here we have 90mm, and it's quite effective gun. As you can see, the parameters 4.2 aiming time, 4.2 seconds, which is quite fast. Dispersion 0.32, which means a nice effective accuracy. Reload time 6 seconds, which is also very good. With armor piercing penetration 212mm on tier 8 is good enough. Seriously, is good enough for a medium tank. With alpha damage 225 points. That gives us a DPM on 2227 points, which is quite good. The other parameters of this gun, penetration, like I said, on regular shells 212mm, 259 on premium shells, which is sometimes most of the time enough even for some tier 9 tanks that we're gonna fight with, and high explosives 45mm of penetration, and damage 225 on regulars, 190 on premium, and 270 on high explosives. Gun depression 8 degrees, which is another good side of this gun. It gives you a chance to play in a hull down, use the uneven terrain to be more effective in a rocky or mountain terrains. That's another benefit of this gun. The next thing we should talk about is the speed. As I said, the 50T means 50 tons, which the tank has 54 tons of weight, with engine power 1150 horsepower, and that gives us power to weight ratio on 21.2 horsepower per ton, which is not that bad. And as you can see, the average speed of this tank is 37 km/h. So for a medium tank should be enough. Maximum 51, but is kind of difficult to obtain because the tank is kind of a bit of sluggish. It's not a very good starter. It's a slow starter, but when it gets to the speed, it gets there and it runs quite fast. Another thing that we should talk about is the armor. Here is armor profile of FCM 50T, and as you can see, it's quite simple. The whole frontal plate has the same value, about 152mm. The lower part of the whole 128mm. The turret, front of the turret is well protected by the gun mantlet with 191, 155, 180 to 300mm. Here is space armor, that all this part is well protected. The sides 170, 200 because they are very sloppy, so as you can see the parameters here, they're quite high, and if you manage to face your enemy with the front of a turret, that's going to be quite difficult to penetrate. Of course, the weak spot is here on the top. We have only 84mm on the cupola, the commander's hatch. If you look on the side of the armor, we have 80mm all over the tank, and 85, 80mm, 90mm on the turret, so nothing special. On the back is slightly different than the other tanks because we have 100mm of armor here on the back. That means nice protection against all high explosive shells that enemy gonna drop on you. But the turret only 64, so got to be careful with that one. Of course, the back of a turret is exactly the same. Here is 85, 82mm, 112mm on the top. The strong part of this tank, as we said, was 8mm of gun depression. So if you manage to use your gun depression, The value here goes to 170 millimeters, goes up to 165, 170 millimeters, so it's slightly better. Of course, we're gonna cover a little bit of that weak spot on the top of the turret. So if you wriggle, of course, if you wriggle a little bit up and down, so you can cover your position. So that's the first thing. Second thing, if you're looking on this tank, you can see it has a really wide tracks. And if you do the side scrap properly on this tank, you can make a really hard position for your enemy to get through. Just look at it. If we place like more or less like that, we have 400 millimeters of armor here. Covered most of the time, most of it is covered by space armor over tracks, so all high explosives gonna get caught on the hash, get caught on the tracks. Here we have 410 millimeters. Here it goes to 150. If you get slightly more, you get 160 and 300 millimeters. So still quite good protection. Of course, most of the tank destroyers now after update, they have higher penetration, so to may be able to penetrate it, but most of the tank they're gonna have a problem to penetrate this part of your armor. So the side scrap and the hull down, they are very good options for playing this tank. So how to play this tank? It's quite simple. The first thing, always try to use a hull down technique as much as you can. Try to cover your lower plate. Use your well armored turret and a gun. Second thing, side scrap. Whenever you can, try to set up the side scrap, and then of course try to bounce as much as you can. Do not expose yourself too much, of course. You get to find the proper angle to do this side scrap effective. It's not very easy, actually. It's kind of difficult to find it, but since you find it, you're gonna be really difficult to penetrate. Your side gonna be very difficult to penetrate for the enemies. Another thing, if you play against the lower tiers, against tier 7, tier 8, you may get forward. You may fight on the first line with some support, of course, and you should be more on the heavy side than on the light side. Of course, as a medium, you know, this is a kind of heavy medium, so it goes much better on the heavy side, where it's not so easy to overtake, to flank, to be flanked. That's why you're supposed to stay on the heavy side and then give support to your heavy friends, of course, strike from other positions. If you play against the higher tiers, about tier 9, sorry, then you're supposed to stay, I suggest you're supposed to stay on the backs, on the second line, use your gun, deal the damage, and of course, like I said, try to use as much hull down as you can, and the side scrap. Of course, side scrap, you got to be careful, because if you play against tier 9, some guns gonna penetrate even your side armor or the turret when you get exposed. So you got to be careful with that. That's all. Just enjoy the tank and the credits that you're gonna make, because it's a very good money maker. Armor that we talk about, it could be sometimes could be tricky. You never know, and I had some experience. I got about, I don't know, 200 battles on, or 200 or 300 battles on this tank, and I know that this armor can be very tricky, and you can be really surprised how much you can bounce with it. So it's not of course, it's not a must you're gonna bounce it, but sometimes you can be really surprised. And that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope I give you some useful information and help you up to play, to effectively play on this tank. If you want to see any other videos, you can browse the channel and find something for yourself. If you like my materials, you can subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for incoming videos. And that's it for today. Thanks everyone for coming and watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope I'm gonna see you next time. Meanwhile, take care and goodbye.